we have other groups that discredit religion, and then the birth and resurrection of Jesus and the God idea. And these are mostly the Masons. They extol the Luciferian philosophy with the all-seeing eye at the apex of the pyramid, which is described as the limitless light of nothingness. As we carry the message out there, we tell people about the new presentation as worldwide educators, and people realize that it discredits the God idea and exposes religion and other aspects of it that we and many aspects of it that we all know. Now, will people not be forced to draw parallels between this Luciferian philosophy and the new presentation, and term it satanic worship?
Well, of course they will, because they have free will. Okay, so again, you have to be ready for everything. But as I stated before, and I'll keep saying it, and this is a statement, and that is that we are warning people, and we're, number one, we're educating them, but we're also warning them. Those are the two basic ideas. There's a lot more, but when it comes to something like that, also look at the groups or paths or teaching or whatever it is that are doing this condemning of, let's say, just like you brought up, Jesus and the resurrection and all these stories or whatever. Well, again, it's kind of funny that most people believe in the God idea. So you've got these different religions and paths. One saying that our God is greater than the other. Paul talked about this, and etc. It's kind of funny because they do. But really, they're all looking to the same God idea. It's really all the same God idea, because the Kalam God is basically the ruler. We'll just say the conquering ruler in creation. So you've got one group criticizing the other group, saying that, oh, you're bad because you said this or whatever. But yet at the same time, they're upholding the same God that's controlling everybody. So, realistically, it doesn't matter if it's so or not, but what I see is that it's purposely done. It's purposely done to create. You look at the factions or factors that have taken place through the known history, and you really don't know the real history of things because you've been told history to a certain point, and then that's where they've decided it's come from, okay, the authorities, what have you. And you'll see that is religion as an example, and we can just use, anything, the church or wherever it started, etc. It doesn't matter. And then from there were other things started, the Protestants, the Lutherans, the whatever, the Catholics, Christians, and you just keep going on and on, okay, the Illuminati, what have you. And why is it, just like all these agencies that the government creates, and in other words, it's being demonstrated to us, why would they create all these things? Why are these things created? It's so that, again, this is the marketing ploy of the reptilians. In other words, if they just have one position, then people can attack that. So just like the so-called democracy here, we have two parties, well, and they control both parties. But people think that they have a choice, and people also are taught that, oh, you know what, we're leaving the Catholics and we're going to create, Lutheranism or Protestants or whatever. But really, those can be instigators creating that, another position, so that those people, again, defy the church. And this keeps the marketing ploy and confusion going. So what we have today is we've got all kinds of paths and teachings and this and that, and Christ consciousness and all these things going, but where does it all go to, really? where does the main focus of it go? And yeah, you have the people that don't believe, the atheists that don't believe in God. And so what does that mean? Okay, it doesn't really matter, okay, because there's no such thing as believing in God. But where's everybody focused on? They're still focused on this God idea, aren't they? No matter what it is, and they're here down here battling with attitudes and ideas and even wars. And this is the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition and all these things that took place in history. These are battles against religions and other ideas and governments. It doesn't matter because politics and religion are the same. Actually, religion rules everything. Everything comes from sacrificial religion, and from there the other systems were created. It all comes from the reptilians, and they started all this God idea because God is supposed to be the supreme. And so you see that religion is number one, politics is number two, even though they make it look like politics is number one and that the governments of the world rule, but it's really the Vatican that rules the world. Absolutely. Yeah, it's very, very interesting, isn't it? So, what I see with these ideas, and yes, this is the challenge of just being in creation. So it's not a matter that we're going to create brochures and you get a guarantee with, sharing the new you. There's no such thing. This is life in the wild, just like the little deer out there has to go out there and, find the grass to eat. But at the same time, there's the tiger in the tree or whatever, or the mountain lion out there, etc. They're out there. They want to eat that deer. This is just how it is. So we need to survive, you might say, until we can wake up and get past this temporary existence here. So, yeah, there's no guarantee with anything, Charles. So, our challenge is huge with whatever we do. So, in other words, what I've said and implied is that this is where I look for the contradiction. I basically look for that first. I don't go out into the world and think it's la la land. People that, have the love idea, well, everything is love, we'll just love them. Well, that can work, okay? But for the most part, that's really cute, but it really keeps people asleep, okay? So we can all sit here cozily, lifetime after lifetime, and we can all love each other, and that's as far as it goes. So actually, the so-called destructive negative action actually should activate each person to wake up to see more. And that is that this is what this place is. It's a mishmash of free will. And this is just how it is. And so until the individual gets the focus. So yeah, we're already labeled that. We're already labeled weirdos. And what is really our focus here? We have the new presentation, but really as wonderful worldwide educators overall, we keep specifying, we support the natural environment supporting us. There's the other statement. This is what we do. That's it. And so you don't even have to explain to people. You just say, we support the all-natural environment supporting us. And then from there, you take it. And then if they want to know more, it's like, well, see what's happening to the natural environment. You start with step one, or level one. And then eventually, if they're ready, you can get into more, etc. But get ready, because anything that you present to the world, it doesn't matter what it is, it's gonna have opposition. It's no matter what it is, and this is where you have courtroom battles. One person creates a hamburger stand, another one creates another one like it, and then they go to court. It's like, hey, you copied my hamburger. That's just how it is. Even creating hamburgers is death-defying, okay? The guy may get rid of him, whatever, you don't know, So this is just how the world is. So, yeah, the new presentation, the only reason I risk my life for it every moment, and it's my love affair, is because it's real. And it's not the new presentation, that's not correct. The presentation is a reference, it's the all is. It's the new presentation is a reference to the all is. It's the best reference there is, but I'm not in love with the new presentation. That's just a thing. that I utilize, like the t-shirts I wear. You know, it's just a thing, and it's nice to have it, but it's really your recognition, and this is a toughie for people. This is really a toughie, and I get it, and that is that it's not literal. You start off in the literal sense, but you at some point, you know, it's kind of like a rocket ship going into space. You know, you get all that boost and that get up and go, but at some point you let go, and all of a sudden, you know, you're beyond the Earth's gravity, atmosphere, everything, and okay, where are you now? So now you better learn to recognize something, because now you're in a whole new area, and that's what the real universe is. It is recognition, and once you recognize it, it's so cool because it's endless, and there are no restrictions, no limitations. There's your real freedom, you see, that you've always wanted. But until you recognize it, see, people want it dumped on them. They think they can just, it can be given to them in a brochure or something. It cannot. It cannot be in any literal sense. So, yeah, for those that are literal and one-dimensional and self-absorbed, self-convinced and everything else, okay, educated on the earth, you know, like lawyers and politicians and rulers, controllers and tyrants and etc., you know, they're going to downplay what we're doing. They're going to deny it, say it's a lie. You know, they're even going to hold up the Holy Bible and saying this is real because it's been around longer. It's not about time and space. It's not about tradition. It's about what's real now. So yes, we have this unique challenge, but I love it. I love the challenge. It keeps me going, you know. The only thing that I get discouraged about is that when it's right in front of people, because I love to see people wake up, that they're not interested. So it's like, okay, fine, whatever. And they come and go, and they take a little knowledge, and they come and go, and they think they have something, and then they end up all kind of funny, just like the experience that Chris shared with Zainab, etc. Yeah, they look really good for a while, but then they end up kind of funny, don't they? Yeah. Yeah, so it's the biggest thing here for us is learning to stand real with the all is and supporting each other. That's so cool. This is what I do. I see each one of you. You know, I'm willing to do that if people are willing to meet me halfway. Yes. Yes, Charles, there's kind of your answer. So, yes, thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you too, Duane. Okay, it is said that those who cannot remember their past are bound to repeat it. And we find that at birth, the mind is a tabula rasa, completely blank, because it's a new mind. One cannot therefore remember one's past life or even past lives. Now, I want to ask, is this some kind of help from nature so that we live in the ease, because only the present, only the now is important? Is this some kind of help by life, so that we live we live the present life and let go of the past?
Okay, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good. Thank you. Sincerely, thank you. Yes. Uh, you know, what's fun about what I do is that it always becomes new. And that's how I see things. I always wanted a new truck, and every time I got a new truck, and I didn't mind spending the money for it, my business got better because I saw it as a new life. And yeah, we're in a new position. So I see that, you know, we have A, D, and BC. We have these ideas that we've come to know. So let's start there, you know, A, D, B, C before Christ after death, okay, whatever, all right? And so look at just from that time span, we'll just play this game here, to the time that Paul came in 1965, all right? So the consciousness of the world was a particular. And then when Paul consciously took the real position in 1965, well, there was a reality that was present here. Okay, I'm not going to say change. Change is in creation. There's always change because you have cause and effect. The true reality that life is, there is no change. Absolutely not, because there's no cause and effect. There's only recognition, seeing, and perceiving. Okay, those, and there's more, but I'll try and keep it simple, and that's just a whole lot for most people anyhow. They're not even going to get that. And so Paul started it off, and then realistically, even though I took the real position in 2001, it really wasn't quite it, because I really wasn't quite ready for this. It was really 2007 became the new wave is, because I needed a lot of preparation more so, and even Paul stayed here longer. A little bit longer for me, and it's just, it's just way too big. And this took me a lot to recognize this. It was there, but I really had to figure out according to here in the world itself. And so, yeah, the past, okay, we have the past, like I've stated many times, and the future, but really the past, because people drag their past as a reference, and it's not necessary. Even when I was in the corporation, it talked about past lives. The basic thing is past life, dreams, soul travel. Those are the basic things that Paul brought out, and so which is fine for that time. But now we do use the dream visions as a step for something, and if people want to go into the past, that's fine, but it's not necessary, because now that this has been stated and it's present with the new wave, and that is that with the isness, everything is already. So you don't need to look to the ideas of the past, because once they're lived, it just becomes an idea. That's all it is. These are just ideas, and people can think whatever they want, but it's really nothing compared to the isness, because everything is there. That's where you're alive. You're alive. That's all aliveness is with the isness, and it's everything, and it encompasses everything in creation too. I have drawn you might say, a border, a line between creation and the real universe, is simply because of the 5 bodies that we have to utilize and we have to deal with. And so as people go through the process, it's much easier to define the two, because for the most part, society has mashed everything together to where, even the so-called, God followers or whatever, when you look through history, they're still confused. They're still bringing up data. It's like the Dead Sea Scrolls or whatever it is. Like, oh, we've proven there's a God or whatever. It's like these things are silly. It's like, what? I thought that was already agreed to. But, it's like people are still searching to get more, confidence and convince themselves that, oh, yes, there is a God. Okay. And then sometimes like, well, we're not sure now. And then we go back to it. It's like back and forth. Well, again, this is manipulation of people's minds and senses. It's also silly, because life's an isness. It's not about that it's on and off. It's an isness. It's like the sun shining. Again, the sun is the best example. It never goes on and off. It appears that there is a sundown. It appears that there is a sunrise. But realistically, when you go above the world at a certain point, you see that, hey, the sun never sets or rises. It's an isness, and it's everything to recognize this endless recognition. So the past is a particular, but you know what? It's a speck of dust that equals what? And so you decide what it means to be. It means nothing. It can be a reference into something else that refers to the isness. I'll take people through the steps. But standing alone means absolutely nothing to me, but it may mean something to others. But again, everybody has free will. Everybody can have their teddy bears, yes, and their blankies. And so that's a choice. So yeah. Again, you decide, Charles, what it's going to be. And again, the conversation you're going to have with people, you have fun with that. I relate to things in the past, bring them into the present. But once you establish, your presentation with this isness, then it becomes a lot more fun. But it becomes far too real for people too. They can't handle it right away because it's a recognition, and you cannot give them that. You have to understand, you cannot give them that recognition. You can provide them reference. That's all you can do. And just like, your kids that are studying their homework, they either use a computer to find out information, or they go to the library. Those are the reference section. They get up references to do their report or something. All you can do is provide reference for them. That's honorable and that's real. But when you start, as the systems on the world have done, proclaiming themselves that they know what is best for you, then that's imprisonment, and that's implied freedom, isn't it? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Duane. We've just made a comment there, and it has made me see the futility of studying certain subjects that are very much venerated out here. You have archaeology, you have studies related to cultural preservation and all that. You see, I find that it's like the world is engaged in digging up the past rather than living in the present, from your explanation. And so looking at some of these studies that people study up to maybe PhD level and all the like, they become so important people in society. I find that it's, from what you've said, is like an exercise in futility. So what do you think about this too?
No, you're absolutely right. I'll agree with you. And that is that I'm not saying not to do it. Okay? Again, anything that I say, it doesn't negate anything. Nothing is negated. But at the same time, by the very fact, for those that have the awareness to see it, and ask the boys. Ask them. Where do you get your confirmation from? So ask them. What has been presented so far? What I've created so far in creation, okay, as a presentation, supersedes everything that this world has ever seen. But not everybody is going to see it. You see, you got to see it. You've got to recognize it and learn to see it. And what is possible for us to do, again, this is where the activation comes in, Charles, will far supersede anything that this world has seen. Just give it time. You don't think the boys can do anything? You don't think they can see anything can be done? But again, they also need agreement. They need people here. One person, okay, I was the one that stepped up, said, I'll do this. They at least need to start somewhere. And so it started with one person. And so here we are. Now we have more and more. But it's not about the people. It's about the agreement that if people will allow it to be so. So we're, you might say, sneaking around presenting this. And, the bad boys are watching us. And they can't really figure us out. And so at the same time, the boys are having fun on the real side, you might say diverting them into other areas because they're very busy destroying the earth. But at the same time, the boys are busy diverting them and also protecting us, those that step up, and also, implementing more here. Because again, these individuals here, and we're going to call them souls, okay? So when you're unaware, you're soul. That's really what you are. It's not the real you. It is, but it isn't. But we'll just use that label, soul. These unaware souls, they're struggling, and they're part of the whole of life, and their value is unlimited. So it's worthwhile to get them to the point where they can recognize how to save themselves. Yeah, so nothing is really futile. Actually, it's not. Just like nothing is negated. But if it is utilized to where it has no benefit, no longer any benefit, at a certain point it has a benefit, just like a child going into first grade. That first grade has a benefit for that child. But if the child stays in there 20 years, at what point does the benefit run out? You see? And so it's like fruit. It's ripe for a while, but eventually it becomes rotten, and where's the benefit? So everything runs its course like that, because that's just how cause and effect creation is. We must see all sides of it to have that comparison to eventually recognize the is. This is what ignites that recognition. So, yes, looking at the world how it is, the world is into futility. It's totally self-absorbed into futility because, hey, we've had governments, religions, and all this nonsense and belief systems and all these things, and look what it's turned into. All agreeable to self-destruction. So I would say it's way past its point. And so the funny little things I say out there about the corporation and other things, like people are alarmed. It's like, oh, he said this, he said that. Hey, these are just words. I'm not poisoning the world or blowing up countries, or I don't have big, power plants that send out microwaves destroying people. No, I'm not doing that. I'm trying to warn people, but again, they're going to take it in their own way because they're emotionally attached to the system. So, again, the individual, nothing is negated, but yeah, a lot of things are futile, and that's just how they are, but it's a choice each person makes. But at a certain point, people need these references, and we go back and forth. We go through many things because we're dealing with the world according to how the world is, and at the same time establishing and creating our freeway with the projects. And yeah, it's huge because it takes agreement. I'm not going to be personally building the boat. I may take a can of paint and do my part, but I'm not going to be building the entire vessel. That's going to take a lot of agreement with a lot of things for that to happen, and other things. And so again, just like Miriam's group, like we talked about, Charles, step one, see if they'll go out there and they'll just pick up some little pieces of paper and, help clean up the neighborhood. Step one, everything starts from somewhere. So again, everything is a choice. It's not really that things are futile, but it's a choice, and you must let people have their choice. We just keep presenting what we do. We see what the world's doing. Ava looks over the news lots of times of things in the world, and I listen. It's like, okay, Ava, I don't want to get into all that. I don't even know what Trump is doing in the President of the United States. It means nothing to me. If it shows up, fine, but you know what? I just focus on the is, and I see what's coming, and I focus on the people here. It's Kelsey and Chris and the others, and Vesna and whatever. I focus on these people that are doing something, and if they need some assistance or if we're doing something new, etc. That's what I focus on, because we're little by little building this so that the world will see this, so the world has a chance to wake up. But in the meantime, we're going to take on a lot of confrontation because people, really they're, it's their emotional attachments. And just like George was saying about this one Risa that basically hates me, and saying that I've ruined a lot of people's lives. I have ruined no one's lives. I've not done that. That's a choice they've made because of their emotional attachment to Harry, thinking that Harry is so precious to them when he's taplining them and destroying them. I'm just trying to warn them, but they hate me for it. Yes, it's how dare you try and wake us up. Well, that's just how it is. So you talk about fertility or whatever, what's futile, you know. uh, yeah, how can you define that? This is it. The world
Yes.
is everything. Yes, the world is everything.
Okay.
Ah, thank you, Duane.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Well, I appreciate you being here, Charles. We love you. We really do. We really appreciate you being here because this is the adventure for everybody. Everybody gets a bigger viewpoint. I suggest that simply practice for the fun of it. If you want to, it's up to you. Practice to learn to see things differently than you always have. Just play with that, you see? Practice to be indifferent to things and see how it works out for you. And pretty soon you start to get the gist of things, you see? Because again, the true reality life is the isness. You know, people can say, well, I live in the isness, I do all this. Well, that's an idea, okay? All right, have fun with that. That's not recognition, though. You see, they know about the idea of the isness, so they say, well, we live in the isness. Well, yes, we do live in the isness. But then if everybody's just thinking that, then it's just a thinking thing and it's not a recognition. And again, things are demonstrated, but actually the true reality life is indifferent to everything we consider. So again, what is it? Yeah, this becomes interesting. So it cannot be defined. It's a recognition. And being to being, you will recognize, that others do recognize it by the very fact of what they demonstrate and how they are. So this becomes the fun part. Yeah, life is amazing. Again, we've come into a world where we think there's got to be guarantees and patterns and things are set up a particular way so that everything comes out good. Well, that's nice. Yes, we do the best we can, but at the same time, cause and effect creation, it's not like that. In the real universes, it is that, but it's a recognition, and it's not the idea of trying to fix things or make things good here, but actually presenting something new and real that does make sense. There is a subtle difference. Yes, and so you have to catch that. You have to catch on. Yes, again, thank you, Charles. You're wonderful. And say hello to Miriam.